I used to think that my life was over and that I'd never be happy unless this trial was taken away from me. And now it's like my companion. We're like hand in hand. We're hanging out together all the time. And we're best friends. And we just do life together. And it's not a problem. Life with POTS doesn't have to be a bad life. It can still be an amazing, beautiful one. I promise. Hello, my new friends, and welcome to my channel. I'm Aimee Esther. I have POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, and several other chronic illnesses. And today I want to talk to those who are newly diagnosed with POTS and share with you some advice, things that I have learned as I've gone through living with POTS, and things that I wish that I had known when I was first diagnosed. If it is your first time coming to my channel, please hit that subscribe button, especially if you have POTS or any other chronic illness, because I make videos about life with chronic illness multiple times a week to help you to live the most beautiful, amazing life, even in the middle of pain and fatigue and feeling all of these symptoms that come along with chronic illnesses such as POTS. And I promise you, it is possible to live a happy, wonderful life even if you live with POTS. I promise. And I share that here on my channel. So make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. But today I just want to share with you my advice for anyone who's been newly diagnosed with POTS, or anyone with POTS. You don't have to be new. I've learned some of these things just recently, and I've been diagnosed for a while now. So definitely anyone who has been diagnosed with POTS, this information is for you. So first of all, if you want to know my story, I have a whole video on it. I will link it down below so I don't have to go into too many details. Just generally what happened, I started having symptoms of POTS. I went back and forth from doctor to doctor. Everyone told me I was crazy. There's nothing wrong with you. And finally, after years of living this way, just thinking I was a crazy person and that it was all in my head, I finally figured out I had POTS on my own. And again, that story is linked in the description, but I figured it out on my own, well, with the help of some other people, but not from a doctor. And after I figured out, I went to my doctor and said, I have POTS, here's all the reasons why. And then he did some testing and was like, oh yes, you do have POTS, and did diagnose me. But that's kind of my story. I suffered for years with being told nothing was wrong with me. And I know that there's so many others who live with POTS who feel the same way. And if you've been through that journey, just know I understand. And I've been there too. And it is awful. And I'm so sorry that you had to suffer through that. And I don't know about you, but I was so happy to find a name for my problems. And not only to just have a name so I could tell people, but then also I could connect with people and find people who were going through what I went through, or what I was going through, what I still am going through, but also find people who had gone through a similar experience of feeling like they were crazy and having doctors telling them nothing was wrong with them. Just finding other people who had been through that was really helpful. And then, of course, finding things to do about it. So let's talk about some of the things that I learned, some of the things that I wish that I had known when I first got diagnosed. So the first thing that I think is the most important, and I want to say this very first because I'm going to offer you some advice today, but I want you to know that everyone is different. Everyone in the world is different, and we know that, but everyone with POTS is different. And even though, yes, we find community in finding someone who is similar to us, but I'm not sure I've ever met anyone whose story was exactly mine, or whose symptoms were exactly mine, or I have multiple chronic illnesses. I have other things, and even that, I don't know anyone who has all the same chronic illnesses as me exactly, and it all happened the same way, and we all feel the same things on the same days, right? Everyone is different, and everyone finds different things that help for them and don't help other people, and vice versa. And there's things that people told me, this will help you no matter what, and it didn't work for me. And that's just how it goes, is you try things and sometimes they'll work and sometimes they won't. So some of the advice I might share with you today, you're like, I'm going to take that piece, I'm going to leave that piece. I'm going to try this one. If it doesn't work, I'll try this one, right? You just need to take it day by day and listen to your own body, listen to yourself, because even if a doctor is telling you you should do something, you can still choose to do the opposite or do something else. or do it in a different way. You can always choose differently. So just listen to your body and know what's best for you, and stop listening to every single piece of advice you get. Just take it bit by bit. And that's my next point of advice, is not only is everyone different and you may have to figure it out for yourself, but also in order to figure it out for yourself, don't try everything all at once. I would try it little by little. And there's a few reasons why I would do that. And one is it's overwhelming to be like, hey, change your diet and change the way you exercise and the way you eat and the way you talk to people. And that's so overwhelming. So just take it one bite at a time, one little thing at a time. Maybe you start with exercise, maybe you start with food, maybe you start with compression socks or whatever it is that, and we'll talk about some of those things today, but start with one thing. And the other reason you don't want to go all in all at once is because there may be some things that you try that don't work for you or don't make a big difference, but you think they are because they're being combined with other things, if that makes sense. So like if you start wearing compression socks and you start eating a paleo diet and you're feeling a lot better, do you know, is that the diet or is it the socks? Is it both? It's hard to tell. And so what I would do is pick one thing, try it for a couple weeks, see the changes that are made. If you're seeing improvements, keep doing it and add something else. If you're not seeing improvements, take it off the table and try something else. And maybe you need to try different combinations of things together, right? Maybe a certain diet isn't perfect for you, but if you do it in this different way, it works, right? So just trial and error. Take it day by day. It's going to take a little while, but don't be in a rush. You don't need to figure this all out today. It's just one day at a time. And I promise you, if you take it slower and don't try to change everything all at once, that'll actually be easier for you. First of all, you'll be able to adjust to it better mentally and physically, but most importantly, mentally, because it is hard to make some adjustments. It's hard to adjust your mind and even how it is to live chronically ill. That's a big mind adjustment that you have to do. So that's my main advice. So take everything I say with a grain of salt, no pun intended. We'll get to why that's a pun soon. But just take everything with a grain of salt. That's my first advice. Okay, next thing that I did not know when I was first diagnosed was that most people with POTS have other chronic illnesses too. I am yet to find someone who only has POTS and nothing else, and maybe they're out there. If you are, let me know in the comments below. But almost every single person, okay, so far every person, but I'm sure there's someone out there. So far every person I've talked to who has POTS has something else going on with it. Whether it's also fibromyalgia, you also get chronic migraines, you also, have SIBO or other digestive issues. There's just other things going on, or other autoimmune diseases, or other symptoms. Maybe it started from COVID. There's just all these different things that could have happened or could be happening to you. So even if these things give you some relief, but you're still feeling other symptoms, don't be afraid to go back to your doctor and say, hey, can you check me for a few other things, see if there's anything else on top of POTS? Are there any other things that are causing these symptoms? And just be aware that you could have other chronic illnesses, other problems that might be linked to POTS, but might be totally different. And I don't know why that is. All of us with POTS just have a million problems, okay? It's sad, but true. And don't worry, I understand you. We're in this together. But yeah, just know that you might have other things going on as well. Okay, let's start with physical health, and then we'll get to the more important part, which is mental health. But physical health, some of the things that you can do are wear compression socks. For me, this is what helps me the most. It was the biggest difference, kind of like the right away thing that I put the socks on, felt different immediately. I don't even walk to the bathroom without wearing my socks. If I wake up in the morning, I put my socks on the second I get out of bed. The only time I don't wear them is when I sleep and when I shower. That's it. But every other time, I personally wear compression socks. And my advice with compression socks is to get the good kind. Don't just buy the cheap Walmart ones or just your neighbor's. Ew, who would borrow their neighbor's socks? I'm sorry. Okay. I was going to say borrow your neighbor's socks. Yeah, we're going to just scratch that. Okay, the cheap ones on Amazon that are exercise running socks. Don't get those cheap ones. Go to the pharmacy or go online. I will link my favorites below, but get some good, high quality medical compression socks. And I use 30 to 40 mmHg, which is just the tightest you can get. I would recommend getting the tightest you can handle, or like, I don't know. To me, they're hard to put on, but like, just wear them. They work. Okay, they work for me. Maybe they won't work for you. Number 2 is water, water, water. You need to drink so much water. Just go crazy with water. Have your water bottle. And on top of that, salt. So don't just drink water, but you need to drink water and salt. And add in some electrolytes. So those combination, I guess salt and electrolytes kind of similar. But salt, electrolytes, water need to be like the main part of your diet. Like salt everything like crazy. Take salt pills. I will link the ones that I take down below. And as for food, I would recommend increasing your vegetables and decreasing sugars. And we know what's healthy. I think most people know what's healthy, but increase veggies, decrease processed sugary foods, and find the right diet for you. It may be different. I've tried different diets. Usually the diet helps some symptoms, makes some worse. Like that's always how it goes for me. So I'm still yet to find the perfect diet, but I have found that for me and most of the people that I talk to have POTS, that more plants is better, less processed food. The one thing you want to know is that if you eat too many carbs at once, so you eat a big bowl of pasta, you eat a bunch of bread or something, that up to 1/3 of your blood supply can go to your digestive tract. I learned that at a POTS conference. That made so much sense to me because I always get super exhausted after I would eat a lot of carbs. If you eat a lot of carbs and you feel exhausted after, maybe limit the carbs and focus more on complex carbs like vegetables and that, right? Okay, next thing is sleep. Sleep makes a big difference. And I have lots of videos on sleep. I'm still working on it myself, so I'm not going to go into like too many details, but just, I know everyone says that, like, get good sleep as if it's an easy thing, which I know it's not, but I'm still working on it, like I said. So more videos to come on that, and hopefully I'll figure that out one day, but it does make a big difference, as well as exercise. And I know everyone says exercise helps your POTS, exercise helps everything. And you're thinking you're crazy because I can't walk, I can't stand up without passing out. Like, how can I exercise? But it really does help, especially if you increase the muscles in your upper body. But take it slow. Just take it day by day. And I started out with 5 minutes a day. Sometimes I still do 5 minutes a day. But you just start out really slow, and I promise over time it will get better. And again, don't be in a hurry. You don't need to be exercising for 2 hours every day. No. Just start with 5 minutes, work your body up, and it'll get better over time, because the more you exercise, the more the blood will come to the top of your body, which will give you more energy to exercise more. And do you see how that works, my friends? So definitely try exercising. I found that yoga does really well for me. I do yoga before bed, exercise right before bed, because then if you're exhausted, you can just lay down and go to sleep. You don't have to do anything else after. So that's some good advice for you. And then the next thing is to rotate between laying down and standing up. I know a lot of the times we're like, okay, I feel terrible, I should just lay down for 3 days straight. But I found that if I lay down for a couple hours or even just an hour, and then I get up and I give myself 5-minute breaks. So I lay down for an hour and I say, okay, I have to get up for 5 minutes, and I try something. Sometimes if I get up and move for 5 minutes, I feel better, and so then I can keep going. So I might get up and vacuum my living room, or get up and just do something active for 5 minutes. Sometimes I feel better, sometimes I feel worse. If I feel better, I get up and I do more. If I feel worse, I go lay back down for another hour, and then I try this cycle again. I know it sounds like the right thing to do, but trust me, it's better to just get up. Okay, so those are the physical health things. And I have other videos where I go into more detail about, how to treat POTS and your physical symptoms. But I want to focus on the more important, which is your mental health. Because, there's lots of things you could try to help your physical health. You could try medications. You could try so many different things. But if your mental health is not in a good place, none of those are going to even matter. So the first thing I want you to know about your mental health is that it's normal to live chronically ill and live with a mental illness. That's totally normal, and it's so common. I know it's just depressing that everyone's depressed, but it's it's sad, and yes, it is like a hard thing to look at, but when you're living with physical pain, it's just kind of the brain's natural instinct to feel down on that, whether it's depression or feel anxious about it and feel anxiety, or any other mental disorder. I just found that a lot of the people that I talk to are chronically ill, also live with a mental illness, which, is also a chronic illness. It's just a little bit different. And I certainly had my struggles and still have my struggles with depression and anxiety. It's just it's part of the journey. So when I'm feeling anxious or depressed, recently I've been more in the anxiety side. I have really severe anxiety at night. My stomach flips upside down. It's like as soon as my brain tells me it's nighttime, my stomach flips upside down and I feel like I'm going to throw up just from anxiety. And I don't know how to explain it. It's just the worst feeling in the world. I hate it so much. But I feel this anxiety. And what's actually helped me the most is when I stop telling myself I shouldn't feel anxious right now. Instead, I tell myself, of course I feel anxious right now. That makes perfect sense. I'm in pain and I'm terrified to sleep because of the pain, as well as I have other stuff going on. I have other traumas and things and night terrors and nightmares and all of that fun stuff. But of course I would feel anxious right now. That makes perfect sense. Of course I would feel depressed when I'm in pain all the time. That makes perfect sense. And when I started telling myself that, yes, this makes sense, and it's okay to feel depressed sometimes, it's okay to feel anxious sometimes, and I stopped trying to fight it, it makes it so much easier to deal with. I won't say that it goes away. I still feel anxious every time I go to sleep. I still have bouts of depression and I still have moments of that. But when I allowed myself to just feel anxious, and instead of thinking about it as this big problem that I need to solve for, instead thinking about it like, oh, this is a chemical reaction in my brain that is sending me these feelings, and it doesn't have to be this huge, big deal. It's just my time to feel anxious right now. And I don't enjoy it. I don't get excited about feeling anxiety or depression. I mean, I still don't want it, but when I allow it and I say, okay, depression, do your thing, things are going to get better, and just believing that things will get better, that's where I find the most power there. And when it comes to anxiety and depression and other mental illnesses, seek help. Whatever you need to do, whether that's counseling, like therapy, it may be seeing a life coach, or it may be talking to a friend or a family member. I kind of find help through all of the above. I just do a combination of all of them. There's some people that really thrive in life coaching. There's some people that really thrive in therapy. There's some people that really thrive in horseback riding, right? They deal with their anxiety and depression through riding horses or knitting or whatever it is. Just find something, but try different things and seek help wherever that may be for you. Okay, the next thing that I definitely did not know when I first got diagnosed with POTS was that your life isn't over. You can still live an awesome, amazing life. In fact, I have seen more blessings living chronically ill, and I am happier right now than I ever have been before. My entire life, I was healthy and I didn't have any health issues, and yet I'm way happier now than before I got sick. And it doesn't make sense. I know it doesn't make sense, but it's true. And I used to think that my life was over and that I'd never be happy unless this trial was taken away from me. And now it's like my companion. We're like hand in hand. We're hanging out together all the time. And we're best friends. And we just do life together. And it's not a problem. Life with POTS doesn't have to be a bad life. It can still be an amazing, beautiful one. I promise. The next one I know you're going to think is crazy, but pain doesn't have to be a problem. I know that sounds crazy. And I still, even though in my higher brain, my conscious brain, I know that pain's not a problem for me. I still fall back all the time. I get in that emotional state where I'm complaining and I'm sad and I just wish it would go away. But the truth is, it doesn't have to be a problem. And even though, yes, we have human brains that are always looking for problems and they're always going to find them somewhere, if you don't want it to be a problem, you don't have to have it be a problem. And I know it sounds crazy, but pain is just a physical sensation in your body. It's just little neurons sending signals to your brain and telling it to feel pain and to feel this certain symptom. That's all it is. It's not as big of a deal as we make it out to be, as our emotional, high-stress brains tell us. It's really not as bad as we think it is. And I promise that there is a way to change that. In fact, I have an entire course, I will link it down below, where I teach you how I do that. And I work with people one-on-one, and we talk about how we can change our brains and how we can allow pain and not make it this huge, big problem, this huge, big deal, because it doesn't need to be. And the truth is, you're going to be a stronger person by living with pain every day. Like, holy cow, I'm so proud of myself. I'm so proud of myself when I just make dinner. I made dinner tonight and I'm like, okay, actually I didn't. Okay. Yesterday I made dinner and I am so proud of myself. And today, you know what? We had almond butter sandwiches for dinner. Yes, piece of bread with almond butter. That's all we ate for dinner. And I am proud of myself because I made those almond butter sandwiches and we used paper plates, and you know what? I'm proud of myself for all of it because I am such a stronger person. I am just a better person than I could have ever been without this trial. I just think it was the perfect trial for me. And I know that sounds crazy, but I think it's the perfect trial for you too. The reason I know that is because it is your trial and that's what you're going through. And so it was the perfect thing for you to teach you to be a better person, to teach you to be the amazing person that I know that you can be. And you don't have to let your chronic illness, your POTS, take you down and stop you from living the life you want to live. Which leads me to my next point, which is you can still live your dreams and your goals and be productive even while living with POTS. It's possible, I promise. I do it every day. It blows my mind. I get to the end of the day and I'm like, wow, I did a lot today. Or I get to the end of the day and I'm like, wow, I didn't do very much today. But I do not give up on my goals and dreams. I don't give up on them. Maybe they take me longer. Maybe I go about them a different way, but they still happen. I've hit so many goals since I've been diagnosed with POTS that most people would not believe that I even had POTS, but it's possible. I promise you it's possible to be productive and to live your goals and dreams if you're living chronically ill. The next thing is that you have support. I know it feels like you're alone, especially if there's none of your friends or family who live this way. And I know we're all unique in our own circumstances and symptoms and all that we talked about, but we still can find community and we still can understand each other a lot better than people who have never lived chronically ill. I know that it can be hard when you're not surrounded by those people, when you're not married to or friends with people who are living chronically ill in your physical life, but there's still ways to find people. Here on YouTube, my community, welcome. I understand that it can be hard to live chronically ill. It can be hard to live with POTS, and so many people here who have joined this community and talk about it in the comments. So go write a comment on this video and let's support each other as we're each going through our own journey. Other options are Facebook groups. I love going on Facebook groups for certain chronic illnesses. So I just type in postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome into the Facebook group search bar and came up with a bunch of different groups, and I just joined them. People ask questions and you can get your questions answered. You can talk to people. You can just ask for advice. You can just complain. Whatever you want to do, there are people there who know what it's like to live with POTS. And yes, we are all different, but we can still find community and we still can help each other and we still can understand each other on a level that people who don't live chronically ill probably can't understand. Other support you can find is through a life coach or a therapist, a doctor or chiropractor, or any other specialist person who has knowledge about life with chronic illness. you can find support. It's out there. I promise you just got to keep looking. And I know it can be hard and you can feel alone, but trust me, if you keep looking, you will find the community. I started putting videos here on YouTube just because I wanted an outlet, and yet I found so many people who understand me, who talk to me, and we work through things together. And I just never knew that there were other people out there that were living the way I was. I thought I was alone. And turns out there are thousands and thousands, hundreds of millions of people who are living chronically ill. You just haven't met them yet. So keep searching and you will find that support. The last thing I want to leave you with is to remember that you'll have good days and bad days. You will have days where you do so much, it amazes you. And you will have days where you watch every show on Netflix. You will have maybe months where you just feel like you've done nothing. And you will have months where you realize that your pain's not a problem. And you will have days where you're in so much pain and having so many symptoms, and you'll have days where it's a little bit lighter. And you might feel symptoms every day, but sometimes you might notice them less because you're in a better mental space. And sometimes you'll complain all day long. And sometimes you'll cry all night long. And sometimes you'll lose your job or you'll quit your job. And some days you'll wish that this trial was gone. And other days you'll be so grateful that it was a part of your life. And you'll be so grateful for all the things you've learned through this journey. It's going to have ups and downs. And I want you to know that all of that is okay. It's okay to complain. I feel like sometimes I talk to people, I coach you guys, and people come to me like, you're happy all the time, and I want to be happy like you, but I just can't, and I just complain too much. And I'm like, I complain all the time. I just don't beat myself up for it. I let myself complain. Sometimes I wake up and I'm like, oh, it's a complainy day. It's okay, Aimee. Sometimes you complain. And the reason I'm okay with that is because sometimes I don't complain. Sometimes I'm overjoyed to live chronically ill. Sometimes I feel physical pain and I'm like, yes, I'm learning so much. I am so strong. I'm amazing for going through this trial. And other days, I cry and I wish that it was taken away from me. And all of it's okay. And I just allow myself to feel it all. I allow myself to complain. I allow myself to cry. I allow myself to be happy. I allow myself to feel things that I just don't really understand why I'm so happy, but I just allow myself to do it. And sometimes I don't understand why I'm so sad, but I just allow myself to do it. But just know that you're going to have good days and bad days, and it's all normal. All of it. All the good feelings and the bad feelings and the highs and lows, the roller coaster that you're on, it's all normal. Okay, sorry, I went on a little rant there, but it's important. So you guys, I hope that this video is helpful for you if you were newly diagnosed with POTS. If you were, let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you're struggling with the most in your POTS journey. And we will work through this together. We will come out stronger and better and more amazing, and we're going to do it together. All right, you guys, I'll see you in my next video.